extent of it or the lack of it, and has it shaped you in any way who you are today?
Well, very good evening to everyone here. I'm sure you've seen this on many t-shirts. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Because it doesn't take anything to be kind, but the ripple effect that it has is enormous. And of course, like every other human being, I have been the recipient of both kindness and unkindness, you know, and yet I still think I would choose to be kind, you know. And I think in today's world especially, we all have this hustle mentality where, as you rightly said, people think, oh, if I'm nice, people will walk over me. I also think there's a difference between being nice and being kind. There's a big difference between being nice and being kind. Yes, when you're too nice, you can be a walkover, but you can never be a walkover when you're kind. I don't think that's possible. And also I think, you know, instead of course you can do random acts of kindness, but intentional acts of kindness can really change people's lives. I've seen this with my own eyes, and since you guys mentioned philanthropy is one of the things that I do, I do have a small little family-run trust that supports the education of less fortunate children, because I think education is a great way to change someone's life. And for me, that's an intentional act of kindness. You know, as they say, you give a man a fish and he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So that's the way in which I choose to be kind. You have the luxury of choosing whichever way you like to be kind to the people around you. And I mean, what else can I say? Kindness definitely begins at home. That's very, very important. And I think that's where your prototype of everything that we grow up to be begins. It all begins at home. So before you go out into the world to change people's lives, it pays to start being kind to your own loved ones, you know. And I think, yeah, that's about it. I'm also privileged and fortunate to be a musician, because I think music is a great way of being kind, both to myself and to the people who happen to be listening to music, not just my music, but any music. Music has a very transformative power. It has the power to heal. So I'm blessed and fortunate that I get to be a musician. And yeah, for all these reasons and more, I'm here today supporting the International Kindness Festival, because I really believe that kind is the new sexy, guys. It really is.
You know, I hear you when you say kindness begins at home, and I have your book here, the one that you have some beautiful poems in here. It's called The Broken Wing, and as I was reading it, one thing that strongly stood out for me is kindness to self. It seems to me that this book is like, it's been a journey or a catharsis for you to find home within yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you feel about kindness to self?
Yeah, that is definitely, I think that's what the saying actually means when they say kindness begins at home. I think you have to start by being kind to yourself, because unless you can do that, you can never do it. You can never be kind to other people. For me, yeah, this book has been, it is my journey from my turbulent teens right up until I was an adult. So in that way, it is my way of discovering myself, discovering the world, all of that. It's a very bearing my soul kind of book. I have no idea how you found it. But it's sweet. Thank you. That's really sweet.
I think it's really inspiring for our youth today, because I've had a couple of teens who've been through the book, and they feel that they've been able to connect very well. And you know, why do we get people who are visible, who are celebrities to talk about kindness? Because when you talk, people listen, and people actually they absorb and they get impacted, they get inspired. And I can tell you that the few kids who I have seen read this book, they have been very greatly moved. They feel connected because they feel seen and heard. And being seen and heard is a very large part of connecting with people. So I think your book has touched quite a few people, and this whole concept of being kind to self has come out very strongly in.
I think that's also because sometimes when you as a person go through a lot in life, you can empathize better with people. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you have any thoughts on how education plays a role in teaching about fostering these human emotions? Have you had any experiences growing up which you felt that our educative environments would have done more or been a different way?
Like that. I remember when I was a kid that we had this little after-school program where all of us high school students, once or twice a week, we would go and sit in these corporation schools where, their grasp of English was not as strong, and we would just sit with them and help them learn the language better. And it was, of course, a voluntary thing, and it was done by the school. So I think some educational institutions do foster that environment where the act of helping other people is almost involuntary. It's not something that you have to think about. You just do it automatically, and it's a really good thing. And then there's a practice of tithing, which is relevant in most religions, where you give 10% of your income to charity.
Not profit, but income.
10% of income, not profit.
Yeah, that's really lovely. So before we wind up, because I know a lot of guests here want to talk to you and ask you questions, but before we open it up for that, do you have some kind of a vision or something you want to leave us with on how one could take the kindness movement global and make it larger? What is the one thing someone could do if they wanted to, make it a globally impactful movement? Any thoughts?
Maybe you should do a kindness challenge, like they have the ice bucket challenge. It's a really simple thing.
Simple thing, yeah.
And that is something that you could do with the youth, maybe, because they love these challenges.
So do one random act of
one
kindness.
Random act of kindness, and then
tag someone.
Yeah, and tag someone, and then they have to do it as well.
Well, thank you, Andrea. In a world, like you rightfully said, in a world where you can be anything, we thank you for being kind.
My pleasure. Thank you.
As fairly cutthroat and ruthless and sort of survival of the fittest in the business sense, and I think it's a very one-dimensional view of business. All the business people that I know in India and certainly in Ireland demonstrate kindness all the time, and I think there is this preconceived idea of business being Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, hustle. And I think it's a bit more multi-dimensional than that. I think you can definitely do good while doing well and being profitable. This idea that nice guys come last is really slightly anachronistic. It's a 1980s, 1990s idea. As I say, I see people in business demonstrating considerable kindness. And in some ways that's been kind of institutionalized now. We hear this term ESG, which I think is good. It's forcing companies to think about the environment, to think about social, to think about governance, and it's less of an optional haphazard thing. ESG is pretty systematic now, and any business worth its salt has got an ESG policy where they're really thinking about it. Some people think it's a bit of a nuisance, it's more regulation, it's more things you have to think about, but it's good though, right? It's good that we have to think about our environmental footprint. It's good that we have to think about our social impact. It's good that we think about proper governance in our lives. So, and business is such a driver of economies, of communities, we've got to get kindness into business. It's absolutely crucial, and it's not a weakness. It's not nice guys come last. It doesn't need to be. Some really successful businesses have got a huge sort of spine of kindness. I can think of loads of them. There's Tom's Shoes in America, a pair of shoes for every shoes they sell. There's Timpson's in England where they specialise in hiring ex-convicts. So all of the Timpsons, they do key cutting and they do luggage repair. In the UK, that gentleman, most of his employees are ex-convicts. And so there's multiple examples of businesses that do well while doing good. And business, as I say, is so dominant in our lives that getting more kindness in there is essential. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this.
So one of the big reasons why we put this panel together is